Yo, today we have a book insight of Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And this is my fourth take doing this. Basically, I've mentioned the Rich Dad Poor Dad book quite a few times in the past videos, and one of the concepts is the one I'll get onto in the last portion of the video. So make sure you stay until the end. And there was a lot of value in this book, and I'm very impressed by the way Robert is able to convey his ideology in regards to financial wealth and the attitude one needs to have to acquire success. There are two disclaimers I want to get into beforehand. The first thing is the references I've used. So firstly, thank you to all the references I've been able to use to be able to even give this insight. Make sure you check them out. They're going to be in the bottom of the description. So big thank you to those guys. Big shout out. Second thing is about the whole idea of my book insights. And I don't know if I've clearly addressed it, but this is not a review, like a full book review, not even a half book review, nor really a summary. It's more of an insight into what I found interesting, because one of the concepts that I've had seen from a great speaker, that when you're put forth with a book, that's the entirety of the book is what the author wants the reader to know. So it's what the author wants you to know. But when you look at it from your perspective, you should come with the approach that I have this book in front of me. The entirety of it is what the author wants me to know. What do I want to know from the author? So you kind of pick apart and you kind of see what's interesting to you. And this is in regards to what I'm kind of doing. What's my approach with this entire series, really. The insight is more of a way for me to present what I found interesting in the book, and can be a way for you to kind of find out a little bit about the book and actually go read it yourself, check out other summaries and other reviews, and figure out what you understand of the book and share your own way as well, because that'll be great for me to see, great to hear. But that is the entire concept of book insights. Now that I've got those two disclaimers out the way, we are ready to go into the actual insight of this great book. The first thing I mentioned is the description of kind of what the book is really about. Rich Dad Poor Dad is about Robert Kiyosaki and his two dads. So it's really, he goes into depth with the story of his childhood and his upbringing. His real dad, poor dad, and the father of his best friend, the rich dad. And the ways in which both men shaped his thoughts about money and investing. And the important thing for me that I took to note after I went past the stereotypes I was hearing about the book is the book isn't necessarily just about the physical or the monetary value, the monetary side when it comes to money, but the actual mindset and what kind of attitudes and traits you should have to acquire those monetary goals or those other goals that you may have in life. You don't need to earn a high income to be rich. And one key aspect that is also portrayed in this book, from my memory, is that Robert Kiyosaki comes from the angle of someone who's into real estate and is quite the entrepreneur. So he advocates entrepreneurship and really real estate as well, kind of going into that avenue and starting something for yourself outside of a 9-to-5 job. So let me know what you think of that in the comments. Rich people make money work for them. The 5 big ideas. Number 1, the poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. And this is it's almost like a standard thing, that one of those standard quotes when it comes to entrepreneurs. And when I used to be in the trading world, what I used to see people say also about how people work, the poor middle class, they work for money. The rich, they have money work for them, and they shift the scale to not having that be their goal, but having it be something that comes with it. Number 2, it's not how much money you make that matters, it's how much you keep. And I always think about, when I read it, I thought about my time in my sixth form, which is during my, after, it's a period between your secondary school years and university. It's like a 2 year period in the UK here, and people were making money at the time, and you would think, how is this person making this much money? But then you'd realize they'll explain to you, like, all this money I'm making, it goes away like that because I'm making it so quick. And that entire premise of the number two here it fits perfectly into that scenario which I saw during my secondary secondary time year, which, well, actually my sixth form time, where people would make money quickly and lose that money quickly. A very important aspect of it is actually keeping the money you make, because that's just that's another side of making money, and how important it is to keep that money is something you should take into very, very big consideration. Number 3, rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. And I remember that I watched a Robert Kiyosaki video back in 2020. He had created a diagram of liabilities and assets, and he had separated a few things of what he would consider assets and liabilities, and he would address it in a way of, people will think liabilities are assets, and they would think that the assets are liabilities, and they'll get that whole diagram confused, and that'll be the reason why they don't make as much money as they could have. And that's something that you should definitely check out and look into the mind of Robert Kiyosaki, see what he was trying to get to. What was he trying to get across? What was the point he was trying to make with regards to that diagram, and what you should consider as an asset and why you should value it, and what you should consider as a liability and disregard it if possible. And in this meaning, the asset is something that makes you money, the liability is something that makes you lose money. So that's the context that he means. Number 4, financial aptitude is what you do with the money with the money once you make it, how you keep people from taking it from you, how you keep it longer, and how you make money work for you. So that is his definition of financial aptitude. And of course, with this definition, you'd want it to be high. You'd want to have a high financial aptitude, and hopefully this book and many others can help you achieve that goal, if that's one goal of yours. The single most powerful asset we all have is our minds. Yes, so it's not the money. It's actually it starts with the mind. So make sure you invest in your mind and make it your priority to preserve it and improve it. And with this mindset of you having it be the most powerful asset, you'll be wanting to invest more into it, because you know that this will help you achieve the things you want to achieve. Cash flow tells the story of how a person handles money. So that's a very interesting point, and definitely one you should look into. Cash flow is definitely tells that tale of how you've handled the income and how you've handled expenses. Money comes and goes, but if you have the education about how money works, you gain power over it and can begin building wealth. And this is almost like the story of, for example, the fisherman giving someone fish, as opposed to teaching that person how to fish. Because the difference being, the fisherman in scenario A, that person that has been given a fish, he won't learn how to fish from that fisherman. So he'll rely on that fisherman for entirety, for however long that fisherman gives him fish. Scenario B, where the fisherman teaches that person how to fish, that person no longer needs to rely on the fisherman after being taught. He could be self-reliant for the rest of his life. So focus on the education, focus on how to kind of, regards to money or wherever else really, focus on the education aspect of it. Focus on how you can take control of it and how you can become more self-reliant, so that you can, how Robert Kiyosaki said, gain that power over it, and you can begin achieving the things you want to achieve. Next point. Thinking that a job makes you secure is lying to yourself. So this is coming back to what I mentioned about Robert Kiyosaki being so adamant on the idea of being an entrepreneur, and also very adamant of considering real estate as an option, as a viable option, and not having to rely on a 9-to-5 as your only source of income. Because to even support his case, even during the time of COVID, you'd seen that there's a lot of people that lost their jobs, and in the UK went on furlough, and people getting fired, and I already mentioned people losing jobs. And that's one instance of people that relied on 9-to-5 being disappointed over that fact. However, this is something you should not listen to me, because I'm not a professional. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a businessman. I'm not any of that. So consider reading Robert Kiyosaki's work. See what he has to say about the matter, and sort of see in your mind, is this person a salesman, like just trying to tell me a story, or does he actually have something of value? And I'll leave that in your hands to kind of find out what you can learn from Robert. Intelligence solves problems and produces money. Definitely intelligence, and I'll call competence very important to a group, because you can come to great conclusions and solve problems and collaborate. The final point, which I mentioned in the start, that's very, very important, and one that was I'm not really sure if it was specifically or clearly mentioned in his book, but it was he said it in an interview that I had watched before I read his book back in 2020 when I watched his interview, and I'll read it now. The rich dad would ask questions when presented with opportunities. The poor dad would dismiss them. This is just a summarized bit of, hopefully I don't delve too much into this, but he had mentioned in his interview about how in truth the rich-minded person differs from the poor-minded person. And it's not just in their monetary, and not in the monetary aspect, or just not in actually how much capital they have, but it's about how much mental capital they have, or how they act and how they think. That's the best way to put it. Their differences are in the way they approach problems, how they treat solutions, how they really approach life in general. And the best way he put it was one that always stuck with me, and the things that stick with me just show me that, and should show you that it's something that is very valuable, because it's the thing that he said was very powerful to me, that it really stuck with me until now. And the thing he had mentioned is that the rich, when presented with a problem, with a scenario, let's just call it a scenario. You have rich dad, person A. You have poor dad, person B. Or this poor-minded person, rich-minded person. The rich-minded person was surrounded when faced with a scenario that requires a solution of some sort, would end his sentences with questions. And this is person A, the rich-minded person. He would end his sentences with questions. Now, person B, the poor-minded person, would end his sentences with statements. Now, the difference being in which is it comes through when you understand what that does to your brain. What happens when person A ends his statements with questions, his or her statements with questions? It opens the door for your mind to start finding solutions. And if you say this question out loud and there's people with you, it opens that door for conversations and people to collaborate to find an answer to those questions. Whereas person B, the person asking the person ending his sentences with statements, it never opens the door for questions. I mean, for answers and solutions. It really closes that door. And when you're in a group of people and you say that aloud, it really doesn't open the door for any conversation, really. And that is where the big difference comes in over time. When you're constantly asking questions about how to solve this, how can I afford this, how can I propel myself forward, why does this happen this way, how can I move past this scenario, and how can I learn from my situation. You see how one question leads to another, and once you're in that rhythm of asking questions and trying to find solutions over the span of, let's just say, 50 years, you'll become that person that people gravitate towards, and that person that always tries to look for the solution and always tries to find that crack in the frame and tries to find a way to solve the problem. However, the poor-minded person ending things with statements, I can't do this, there's no point of going there, I can't make it that far, let's just end it here, I can never be this, I don't want to do that, I can't even fathom doing this, there's no point talking about this anymore. That person over the span of 50 years will become a person that does not like to address problems, tries to end things quickly, does not really focus on finding solutions. He or she focuses more on the problems and leaves it there. Is not interested in discussions, not interested in paving the way for conversations and solutions. And it's a difference in priorities for both of them. Person A wants to find those solutions, person B wants to focus on the problems and not find those solutions. And that is one of the most powerful ideas that I've ever been presented in my life. And now it's been 4 years, or well, almost 4 years since I've been presented with that idea, and it's definitely something that will stick with me for the next however many years I'm alive, for the next 4 years, inshallah. And this is something that I would want to leave you guys with. I would love to see a discussion on this whole concept of the rich-minded person and the poor-minded person, and there's a lot more that I can go in depth with. And if you would like that kind of video, let me know in the comments. I can prepare a video, just focus on this whole idea and really go in depth with it and figure out how you can spot the differences in the small daily decisions, and also spot the difference in big life-changing decisions. So I would hope there'll be a discussion regarding this, because it's something that I think is quite important to me with regards to mindset and approaching challenges. So thank you guys for watching.